of our conflict and labor union chapter for our human relations course. I am Professor Jessica. Today we will be able to explain how a grievance process works. So let's get into it. A grievance procedure or a grievance process is outlined in the contract agreement between the labor union and management of the organization. So it's part of the contract that exists between the labor union and the company. And it's a process by which contract violations are handled. So if employees believe that the contract that they have in place with the management is violated, they would file a grievance. So in that sense, a grievance is a formalized conflict. And after violation of the contract terms has happened or has perceived to happen, right, we would normally file a grievance. So there's a violation or perceived violation, and if that happens, employee files a grievance. The actual grievance process is specific to each contract, so they may vary. Next slide will give you a sample grievance process that is spoken about in general terms. A grievance is normally initiated, as I said, by an employee, and then it's handled by the union representatives. Most contracts do specify how the grievance is supposed to be initiated, what steps are supposed to happen after the initiation of the grievance, and then who on each of the sides, which representatives will be part of hearing the grievance. Typically, an HR department is involved in most steps in a grievance process. So this gives us an overview of a sample grievance process, where the first step is typically to have an informal conversation with the manager, the employee, and probably there will be a union representative that is attending that meeting. A lot of grievances really never go beyond this first step because the complaint often can be a result of a misunderstanding or a miscommunication, etc. So if the complaint is not resolved at this point, if the complaint is still standing, then the union will move forward and will generally initiate that grievance process by putting it in writing. And this is when HR and management might discuss the grievance with a union rep. If the result of that conversation is still unsatisfactory to the parties involved, that complaint may be going to the company's union grievance committee. So it has been put in writing and it's moving forward in the process. And after that sort of grievance committee, or when at that grievance committee, which can be an informal meeting or a more formal hearing, then management will submit a formalized response to the grievance. And it may decide to remedy the grievance, or it may outline what the complaint does not violate in a contract. So here they are trying to figure out, was there truly a violation of the contract? Is the grievance valid? Do they want to address it and fix it? Or if it was not a contract violation, that needs to be specified as well. But at this point, if there is still believed to be a grievance, there will be a decision to escalate. And then the grievance would be brought to maybe a national union, where we would have an arbitrator brought in to make a final decision of the grievance. So it starts informally with conversations with employee management and union representatives. Then it takes on a more formal role. Management converses with labor representatives and or the employee and tries to see whether there has been a violation and whether something needs to be fixed. And if not, the grievance go on and take a more formal shape, and that arbitrator will come in at the end and decide if management and the labor union has not decided together. So that was a sample general grievance process. There are 4 different categories of grievances that we can see. The first one is called an individual or a personal grievance. This is when a member of the union feels that they have been mistreated specifically and they will file a grievance. We can also have something called a group grievance. This occurs if many union members feel that they have been mistreated in the same way and they can file a grievance together. And then there is a principal grievance, which deals with basic contract issues surrounding contract items, such as pay, policy, seniority, etc. And then lastly, if an employee or group do not want to file a formal grievance, the union can actually file a grievance, which is called a union or a policy grievance. And this is a grievance that is initiated by the union on behalf of the group or the employees if they are not willing to formally file. So it's important to remember that these grievances should not be taken personally, right? It's a formal conflict and it exists because we have a contract between the labor union and management of the organization. And if used correctly and not abused, it can be a very fair and transparent process to solve actual issues of conflict, solve problems in an organization that exist, right? These problems or issues exist between the employees and management. Alrighty, so for your exercise, go ahead and think about what are the advantages of a grievance process. What disadvantages do you see with a formalized grievance process? What do you think? In summary, the grievance process is a formal process to address any complaints about contract violations. The grievance process varies from contract to contract, and it is an important part of the contract to ensure that there is a fair process for both the union members and for management. The grievance process can have a number of steps in it. First, the complaint is discussed with the manager, employee, and the union rep. If there's no solution at that point, the grievance will be put into writing by the union. Then HR, management, and the union will discuss the process, sometimes in the form of a hearing, and there both sides can express their opinion, and management can also express its decision in writing to the union. It can be escalated at that point if it's not yet solved, and the union can escalate it up to the national union for a decision. And at that point, the arbitrator, which is suitable to both parties, meaning both the parties agree with the arbitrator, can be brought in to make a final binding decision. So arbitrators make binding decisions. There are 4 main types of grievances: individual grievance, group grievance, principal grievance, and union or policy grievance. Lastly, grievances should not be taken personally, and they should be considered a fair way in which we solve problems within organizations, problems or challenges that occur between the union and management. So with that, we are concluding chapter 10 on conflict and labor unions. See you next time. Bye.